Please watch the latest world news. Ukrainian President Zelensky raised the possibility of Russia winning. Ukraine set conditions for negotiations with Russia in India. North Korea sent troops to Russia. South Korean delegation immediately went to Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky raised the possibility of Russia winning. At a press conference on October 28, President Zelensky emphasized that the US ending aid to Ukraine would be a victory for Russia and a great loss for the West. Of course, we do not know what will happen. We understand all the possible risks. The biggest risk would be a change in US policy. I am not sure that former President Trump, if he becomes president, really wants to lose. Losing means ending support for Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky said. President Zelensky said he has not heard Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump express his intention to stop supporting Ukraine. Mr. Trump talks a lot, but I have not heard him say that he will stop the support anytime soon. But I agree with you that there are risks. That is why Ukraine has its own plan on how to strengthen itself. This will be extremely difficult, said Mr. Zelensky. President Zelensky has repeatedly admitted that the country will lose the conflict with Russia if Kiev does not receive aid. Mr. Zelensky said that Ukraine is running out of weapons and ammunition while aid from the US has stagnated. He admitted that Russia is superior to Ukraine in terms of firepower, especially artillery firepower, which plays a key role in the current conflict. The US has been the largest aid donor to Ukraine since Russia launched its military campaign in February 2022, after providing tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine over the past 2 years. There is internal disagreement within the US about continuing to provide aid to Kiev. President Zelensky said on October 28 that he had assured representatives of Denmark, Iceland, Norway, Finland and Sweden that Ukraine does not currently require NATO membership, but only an invitation to join the bloc. We are not talking about Ukraine's NATO membership now, while the war is going on. We are only talking about an invitation to join NATO. Obviously, an invitation to join NATO is not the same as full membership in the alliance. However, some leaders talk about it as if it were one and the same. They are asked about the invitation, but they answer about membership. That is not fair, Zelensky explained. President Zelensky called on the Nordic countries to work with Berlin, following German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's statement that Ukraine could not join NATO. Let's work with our partners across Europe, especially in Berlin, so that together we can achieve geopolitical clarity, he added, speaking to German broadcaster ZDF on October 24. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz rejected Ukraine's call for an immediate invitation to join NATO. A country at war cannot become a member of NATO, Scholz stressed. The statement appears to be the German leader's first public comment on Ukraine's NATO aspirations since President Volodymyr Zelensky unveiled a 5-point victory plan for Western allies, with an invitation to join NATO at the top of the agenda. Ukraine applied for NATO membership in September 2022, and in July this year, the US-led military alliance affirmed Ukraine's irreversible path towards full integration into the Euro-Atlantic region, including NATO membership. However, Kiev has not received any firm commitments on future NATO membership. Ukraine sets conditions for talks with Russia in India. In an interview with the Times of India on October 28, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, Mr. Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of a really big country. Prime Minister Modi can use his influence to end the conflict in Ukraine. The great value of India, a country with a population of 1.5 billion, has a real impact on this. According to him, hindering the Russian economy, cheap energy and the activities of the Russian military-industrial complex will limit Moscow's ability to wage a conflict and shorten the duration of the conflict with Kiev. Mr. Zelensky also emphasized, certainly negotiations can take place in India and Prime Minister Modi can do it. But we need to prepare ourselves and the negotiations must take place in our format because the conflict is taking place on our soil. We have the foundation of the peace summit. He urged the Modi administration to take concrete actions rather than just talk. India has maintained close economic and diplomatic ties with Russia after Moscow launched a military operation in Ukraine in February 2022. In addition to India, Mr. Zelensky believes that the leaders of the G20 developed countries are also capable of pressuring Russia to end the conflict. According to observers, after nearly 3 years of conflict, Ukraine tends to call on Russia to negotiate and find a diplomatic solution to end the war. In June, the Ukraine Peace Summit took place in Switzerland without the participation of Russia. But Kiev plans to hold a second summit before the end of this year and has repeatedly asked Moscow to attend. However, so far, Russia continues to refuse to attend such conferences. In addition, Ukraine is also open to adjusting the peace formula proposed by President Zelensky after accepting peace initiatives from other countries such as China, Brazil, and South Africa. This formula includes terms for ending the conflict such as Russia must withdraw all troops, restore Ukraine's territorial integrity according to the 1991 borders, return prisoners of war, and pay war reparations. On the Russian side, President Vladimir Putin affirmed, Moscow is interested in ending the conflict in Ukraine as soon as possible by peaceful means. However, he emphasized that any final solution must be based on the draft prepared during the negotiations that were cancelled in Istanbul, Turkey in the spring of 2022. Accordingly, Moscow asked Ukraine to commit to neutrality, not to join military alliances, especially NATO, and to limit the size of its army. In addition, Moscow asked Kiev to accept the reality on the ground, implicitly referring to the recognition of territories that have been annexed by Russia. North Korea sends troops to Russia. South Korean delegation immediately heads to Ukraine. Meetings will take place in Washington on October 31st between South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yul and Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. Yonhap News quoted a statement from the South Korean Foreign Ministry saying the two sides will discuss extensively the Korean Peninsula, the bilateral alliance, regional and global issues. The two countries are expected to adopt a joint statement based on the results of the discussions. Another statement from the U.S. State Department said Washington expects the meetings to focus on strengthening cooperation on all regional and global issues and deepening ties within the U.S.-South Korea alliance. The event comes amid rising tensions between the two Koreas, and North Korea is believed to have sent troops to Russia, contributing to the conflict in Ukraine. Both Seoul and Washington have confirmed that Pyongyang has deployed thousands of troops to eastern Russia. Also this week, a South Korean delegation of government and intelligence officials will travel to Brussels, Belgium, to discuss North Korea's troop deployment to Russia. The move is in response to a request from NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte during a phone call with President Yoon Suk-yeol last week. In another call with Mr. Rutte on October 28, President Yoon said the South Korean delegation will also visit Ukraine on October 29. After meeting with European Union, EU, commissions. The purpose of the trips is to share information about North Korea's troop deployment and discuss ways to cooperate. In addition, they may also discuss measures to support Kiev, such as sending a group of South Korean officials to Ukraine to monitor the activities of North Korean soldiers or considering providing weapons. To date, South Korea has provided humanitarian aid to Ukraine but has not directly sent weapons. But on October 26, Mr. Yoon announced that this stance could change, depending on the level of Russia-North Korea military cooperation. The news on Hot News Channel 24 Hours will stop here. If you find the video content interesting, please like, comment and share. You and your friends click subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon in the bottom right corner of the screen to receive notifications of the latest uploaded videos. Thank you.